You're listening to the Baumbastic Podcast with Andrew Ellis on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Baumbastic Podcast, presented by Inside Arkansas and hosted by Andrew Ellis. It is a Thursday. It's June 26th. It's about 3:33 p.m. It is exactly 3:33 p.m. That caught my attention as I looked down and checked the time and date. But I appreciate you guys for being here with me today on the Baumbastic Podcast. Unfortunately, we will not be talking about the commitment of left-handed pitcher Danny Lackenmeyer, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. He's dead to us now. He chose LSU, the North Dakota State lefty, who I even went as far as to put his name on a board behind me on an episode earlier this week. Decided to go to Baton Rouge, and so we will not be talking about that. But we do have a fun episode for you talking about summer ball assignments for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Some important things to note for some guys that are on the team and on the roster, presumably for 2026, and letting you know what they're going to be doing this summer, what it means, what we can learn from that. I always love checking in on those guys to see how they're progressing, how they're developing. One, because it's just interesting, and I think it's just cool to have players all over the country representing your program and your team and getting some big-time experience as well. There's a lot you can really take from that for these individual players. A lot of really good seasons we've seen from the Arkansas Razorbacks over the years. A lot of it started with their development in summer ball and having a big, maybe a good summer in the Northwoods League, maybe a good summer in the Cape Cod League. There's always things that you can point to and say, oh, that's maybe where the light bulb turned on for that guy. And even in recent history, there's been some really clear examples of guys having productive summers out at their destinations and taking that onto campus with them when they return in the fall and then on into the spring for their seasons. And so we'll see who's maybe some candidates to do that. And we're also going to talk about some pro hogs, just a little bit of pro hogs, filling you in on some notable developments in the minor league organizations for some Razorbacks. And again, I'll probably even do a little rant on Danny Lackenmeyer just to get it off my chest. But before we get into today's episode, I want to talk to you about a couple of our sponsors, starting with Devin Rogers with the Heritage Group Real Estate Company. He is proud to help folks all over the River Valley with buying and selling homes, whether it's your first place, your forever home, or anything in between. Devin brings local experience, honest advice, and a no-pressure approach that keeps you in control. If you're ready to talk real estate or the Razorbacks, give him a call or a text at 479-217-2048. Today's show is also brought to you, as always, by Hickey and Hole Law Partners in Arkansas, where they handle matters such as divorce, custody, criminal, civil litigation, and more. Divorce and custody cases are too important to try and face alone. Let Hickey and Hole Law provide you with persistent and diligent representation to help guide you through the entire process. They have handled thousands of family law cases and have experienced nearly every scenario that may come up. The foundation of a strong attorney-client relationship is honesty and trust. Hickey and Hole Law prides themselves on building relationships with their clients by providing honest, principled advice and representation. Hickey and Hole Law have offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479-434-2414, or you can check out their website, visit hickeyandhole.com, or scan the QR code in the top right corner of your screen. If you are watching on YouTube, it is Hickey and Hole Law. Things are about to get better. And since I mentioned it, I might as well just go ahead and talk about the Danny Lackenmeyer thing. So again, this is the left-handed pitcher that was from North Dakota State, came and pitched at Baum, not against the Razorbacks, but pitched for the North Dakota State Bison. He was their closer, their left-handed freshman closer, long, rangy kid. Not crazy explosive stuff, especially if you compare it to the left-handed pitcher that Arkansas already has from the portal in Ethan McIlvain. It's not that 97, 98-mile-an-hour left-handed arm or like 100 Dietz, who we're going to talk about on today's episode. But I really was intrigued by this kid and thought Arkansas had it locked up. He visited campus this week. He had obviously been to campus before whenever he played at the University of Arkansas for the regional. And so just seemed like a perfect fit. And part of what attracted me to him is that it was kind of an under-the-radar guy that I didn't feel like was going to take this crazy big commitment. It's not like you're going to have to set aside $250,000 to get him to campus. But now that I see where he committed, which is LSU, I'm wondering if that's maybe what took place here, which, again, that's the game. That's all fine and dandy. And I think there's going to be a lot of people whose reactions to this are, damn, so that means that we don't have NIL. That means we don't have the money. That means we can't go out there and make it happen. And I would just say to you, this is not an indication of that. Did Arkansas likely get outbid in this situation? 100%. But I don't think this was a guy, again, At least that's how I viewed him. I don't know if the staff viewed him differently. I haven't talked to them about that. But I kind of viewed it as like, hey, it's a cool under the radar piece that would be nice to have. Not necessarily like Arkansas went out and spent money and got a Zach Root, went out and spent money and got a Landon Beidelshees last offseason. I didn't view him in that type of regard necessarily. I was intrigued by him because he was a 2-year guy, but I think once it became a bidding war, I think it's okay that Arkansas is going to explore other options, especially because we talked about it a couple days ago. What Arkansas has coming back, Parker Coyle not being projected to get drafted, that's going to be a big-time lefty for you. Hunter Dietz is on the roster. Maybe you're not penciling him in for 50 innings based on how it's gone so far. I understand that, but you still have options. You brought in Ethan McIlvain. You've got options on your roster. Cole Gibbler, of course, being a big-time left-handed talent as well. So I don't know if Arkansas has this glaring need for a left-handed arm. It would have just been one that was nice to have. Arkansas doesn't get them, and so those are the breaks. That's the game, and LSU goes out and gets them another guy. And we'll see what Arkansas has as a backup plan or alternative options. I know there's a couple other pitchers in the portal. One that I really want is Nick Potter from Wichita State, who I think I talked about with you guys a couple days ago. But in terms of guys who did choose to be Razorbacks, guys that are Razorbacks, let's take a look at what they will be doing this summer. So the U of A put out this graphic today, which has the official designations. And some of these guys have already started playing. Some of these have already been announced. Some we've even talked about on the show. But here are your designations in the California Collegiate League. You've got Brenton Clark, a freshman outfielder, who I think is maybe the most important name on this entire list here in terms of what he's going to be doing this summer. Steele Eves, who you guys got to see pitch a little bit this year for the Arkansas Razorbacks. You also got to see him jump in Lake Norm, which is awesome. The pride and joy of Lone Oak, Arkansas. He'll be there in the California Collegiate League, and they will be playing alongside Tyler Holland, who redshirted this past year for Arkansas. Two-way guy, shortstop. Played a little bit of outfield as well. Could play second, could play third. Also pitched on the mound for Arkansas in the fall. Looks like he's more of a position. It looks like he's converted completely to a position player. He's playing shortstop over in the California League. He's on their team as well. You have the Rocky Mountain College Collegiate Baseball League. I had not heard of this one, but there's so many of these all over the place. There's the Appalachian Leagues. I know Kendall Diggs played there a while back. There's all these different, ones all across the country. This is maybe a newer one. I don't know, but Carson Willis is going to be there. We'll talk about him in a second because I want to talk about this. This is actually a notable one. And then you have your 4 Razorbacks that we talked about, I believe, on yesterday's program, representing Arkansas, representing Team USA, or at least competing for that opportunity, going to the USA Collegiate National Team. Maybe the best uniforms in all of baseball. I love the Team USA uniforms. They just look so good, and it's always cool to see your guys out there, of course, representing the Stars and Stripes. Arkansas will be sending Gabe Gackle, Cole Gibbler, Ryder Helfrich, and Cam Kojal to the Team USA minicamp. This does not guarantee they're going to be on the team, but there's a bunch of players they invite to come out. You play a couple games. They cut down a roster after that. Arkansas is sending 4 guys to that mini camp, which is awesome. And it's an honor just to honestly get that invitation. It's where all the cool kids play. And speaking of where cool kids play, you have the Cape Cod Baseball League. Last but certainly not least, Arkansas will be sending 4 players there as well. Kahio Aloy, Hunter Dietz, Colin Fisher, and Tate McGuire. So 1 position player and 3 pitchers, or 4 pitchers, depending on how you view Kahio Aloy. And so I want to talk about all of these and sort of what it means and what we can take from this. And kind of, again, the expectations we can set. And again, for those that really aren't familiar with this process or how this works, you have players on your team that are going to be on your team next year. They just go out and, they go out to various parts of the country. Cape Cod is kind of the cool one. It's kind of the most prestigious one that a lot of high-level players play at. It's pretty much all players from top programs. But I remember when my brother was at Louisiana College, which is a D3 school in Pineville, Louisiana, his friend, who actually ended up being my high school baseball coach, he was playing summer ball because he pitched at LC, the D3 school. He was playing summer ball in the Texas Collegiate League. And I remember him being like, hey, I've got a teammate who plays for the Razorbacks. And we thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's this really cool concept, honestly. The games are always very laid back and chill, like chain link fences, dirt fields. The Cape's pretty nice. There's a couple other ones that are pretty solid parks, but it's very gritty, bare bones, like just guys playing ball and getting some experience. And it's so funny to see like scouts at these games too, because again, there's a lot of high level players all over the country. Scouts are at these games, some more so than other in certain areas. But it's always a cool concept where you have some kids. I mean, like we just showed you the map there. I mean, you have some kids going to California. You have some kids going to the Rocky Mountains in Denver. You've got some kids going to the Cape up in the Northeast. Then you've got some that are going to be on the East Coast in North Carolina playing with Team USA. Some might get to travel for that. Like it's all over the place. Arkansas has sent kids to Alaska before. Evan Taylor, who's pitching, still pitching in professional baseball now, he pitched his summer in Alaska when he was at Arkansas. And so it's always cool to see where everybody goes. And it's always valuable experience, man. I think it's very pivotal because it's really, you can get developed at Arkansas and you can, get bigger, faster, stronger. And of course, playing in the actual season helps. But for a lot of these guys, they might not get this much experience, these many actual game reps in their entire careers. You know what I mean? So it's always a pivotal time for these guys to go out and get those reps in summer ball. And I'm going to talk about, some of these that stood out to me. We're going to start with the California Collegiate League because they have already had guys that have been playing now for a few weeks. Steele Eves, who was with Arkansas through their run in Omaha, he just joined the team. And that's another thing I should point out. A lot of these guys, especially ones that are redshirting, are already at their summer ball destinations. Like Brenton Clark, freshman outfielder, who I think is very promising, thought he might have a chance to play for Arkansas this year. He winds up redshirting. He's been out in California for a few weeks now. While Arkansas was in Omaha doing their thing, he was out there. Tyler Holland, I believe he was out there as well. They've been getting those reps already. And so, and we've seen that happen a lot here in the last few years. Like Will McIntyre, the year that he redshirted, he went out to the Northwoods League early, got those reps. Dylan Carter, same thing. When he was redshirting, he goes out to the Northwoods League, gets those reps. Jacob Nesbitt, you guys remember him, had a huge summer in the Northwoods League where he got to play like 80 games. That was very helpful. That's an exaggeration. I don't think he played 80 games, but it's very helpful. Brenton Clark has been making the most of his time out in the California Collegiate League. Now, if y'all remember Brenton Clark, that name sounds familiar to you, and you don't remember seeing him this year. Of course, he did not play for the Razorbacks. Last fall, he really started drawing a ton of buzz from me and other people that were at scrimmages, got some praise from Dave Van Horn, like was really making a name for himself right as soon as he stepped on campus at Arkansas. He's a freshman outfielder from Texas, and he was one of the top hitters on the team in the fall, like not exaggerating at all. I mean, you could put him up there with all the, Brent Iredale, I think, led the team in hitting in the fall. I know Vahiva was up there, Cahillo was up there, Nolan Souza was up there, but like Brenton Clark was like right there with those guys. I think it was like just under 400 that he hit in the fall. And so there was a lot of buzz. And of course, Kendall Diggs was not playing at that point in time because he was banged up. Rocco Pepe was not playing because he was banged up as well. And so Brenton Clark was like, I think he even started one of the exhibition games that Arkansas had towards the end of the year. Maybe it was the Fall Classic, but he was right there on that mix of potentially forcing his way into the starting outfield conversation. The spring rolls around. He slowed down a little bit, didn't hit quite the same level, sort of came down to earth a little bit, I guess you could say, started having to adjust to college pitching. So it didn't go super well for him in the spring. Arkansas ends up not using him in the outfield. He ends up redshirting. Probably made sense. He probably needed a year of seasoning, a year to get bigger, a year to get stronger. And we'll see how that worked for him. But these reps in the California League are going to be huge for him. And he's doing a lot of the same things that he was doing in the fall that really attracted, my attention and a lot of other people's attention. He's hitting 350 right now in 13 games in California. That's 14 for 40 at the plate, has drawn 16 walks in 13 games. And again, this is a left-handed hitter, outfielder with a lot of speed, like legitimately enough athleticism to maybe be a center fielder. And I think if Arkansas were to start fall practice like right now, he would be one of the two center fielders because he has that type of athleticism. Really good at-bat from the left side. He hit a couple home runs in the fall. I wouldn't say he has above average power compared to like normal, SEC outfielders, but he's got a little bit of power, a little bit of line drives that can maybe get there. So maybe you add a little bit to his frame. He has not hit a home run yet this summer. He has 2 doubles, and this is with a wood bat, which is another thing to note, that you take the wood bat out of their hands, you're playing in front of scouts and all that. It's kind of, feels like a pro thing. So he's hitting 350 on base percentage over 500. Really encouraging sign. Now, again, the California League, a lot of these guys that are playing out there right now are guys that are either redshirting for their teams or we're at smaller schools or whatever the case may be. So it's not like he's facing, 100 miles an hour every game or anything like that. But it's among the collegiate leagues, I would say California is probably in that top 2, 3, or 4. Northwoods League, maybe the number 2 spot, or at least it has been historically. But California has been rising there for a while. There's also been a lot of Razorbacks lately who have gone out there. The Santa Barbara Foresters have basically become the Arkansas Razorbacks AA squad. They've been sending a ton of dudes out there. I believe Ben Bybee went there a couple years ago. Austin Ledbetter was there a couple years ago. Christian Franklin is probably the most notable example of someone who went. As a matter of fact, it was exactly like Brenton Clark, except not the same, because Christian Franklin played a good bit as a freshman at Arkansas. But right after that 2019 year, his freshman year, Christian Franklin went out to Santa Barbara, played about 35, 40 games, got some valuable experience. I believe he was an all-star in the league. And then he came to Arkansas that sophomore year and was hitting like 380 when COVID happened. And then he ends up being a preseason All-American as a junior. I think he was like a 4th-round pick. He's now in AAA with the Chicago Cubs. We'll actually talk about him in a second. He's probably the most notable example of someone or a position player who played his freshman year at Arkansas, went to California, had a good summer, came back and really use that to launch him into a sophomore year. We'll see if Brenton Clark can do the same thing. He's going to have some competition. Obviously, Arkansas is going to be recruiting some portal outfielders, but he is definitely not a guy to overlook in this whole conversation. And then his 2 teammates out in the California League, Steele Eves, who again was with Arkansas. He was not redshirting. He actually threw about 8 innings this year for Arkansas. He just now got out to California, made his first appearance, inning and 2/3, gives up 1 hit, 0 runs, 0 walks, 2 strikeouts. We'll take it. Small sample size, obviously, but good to see him get his feet wet, get out there on the mound. Obviously he got some valuable experience at Arkansas this year, got to travel with the team, got to get on the mound and throw, got to get out there and throw in some SEC games, which is always nice, even though it was low leverage situations, got to throw in an NCAA tournament game. Like, that's valuable stuff he can build on, but he can also build on this summer. And so good to see him get out there, have a multi-inning outing, throw the ball well. I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming it went pretty well for him. Good to see that for Steele Eves. And the other guy, Tyler Holland, who had a couple times where he would just steal the show at a random scrimmage in the offseason. He didn't hit a ton, and he's 4 for 24 so far this summer, which is 166. He does have a pretty good on-base percentage because he's been walked 7 times in not a ton of at-bats. I mean, 4 for 24 with 7 walks. That's a pretty high walk rate, walk to at-bat ratio there. Also been hit by 3 pitches. So he's hitting 167 with an OBP over 400. I don't think you see that every day. He's also playing shortstop, which is really, when you talk about Tyler Holland, in his skill set, the defensive versatility is what's really going to give him a chance, because he can play shortstop, which is not an easy feat at any level. Could play second base, has played some third base, has played some corner outfield as well. And again, this is a guy who came to college as a 2-way guy, was also pitching. And so it seems like he's maybe going to focus on the position player side, probably the right decision. And I think he's got some skills, man. He can really play, not a crazy over the top, hit tool right now at this stage of his career. But he did hit a home run in the exhibition series against Oklahoma State last year with Arkansas, showed some flashes. I actually remember him hitting a double against Zach Root, and it drove in a run. I mean, this was right before the season started. This was Zach Root's last outing before he threw in the season for Arkansas. So he threw 4 innings in this game, only gave up 1 run, and it was an RBI double to Tyler Holland, which is always just kind of funny to me, remembering that. That's a nugget that you would not be able to get from, if you ever ask yourself, why do you listen to the Baumbastic Podcast? Because you get random remember when nuggets like that, like Tyler Holland's RBI double against Zach Root in a random scrimmage in January. That's what you watch the Baumbastic Podcast for. You're not getting that in the local paper. But no, Tyler Holland, he's been intriguing to me for a while. One, just because he's like Shohei Ohtani plus Spencer Schwellenbach and all that. Any guy that's a 2-way guy tells you what kind of athlete he is. He's also from the state of California, so good for him to get some reps, get some playing time out there in his home state. We'll see if he's able to make the most of it. Right now he's playing shortstop, not hitting a ton, but getting walked a ton apparently. So good for Tyler Holland. I mentioned Carson Willis, and I want to talk about him for a second before I move on to the other leagues that have some names that you guys are really going to be familiar with. Carson Willis is an interesting one. I have not had the pleasure of watching Carson Willis play a ton because in the fall and off-season scrimmages, it was mostly Ryder Helfrich and Zane Becker, those are the number 1 and number 2 catchers on the team, obviously. Those were the guys that pretty much got 80 to 90% of the reps. I think Carson Willis was even banged up at one point and maybe missed some practice time, so he wasn't even hitting in a lot of these scrimmages once they rejoined in spring after Christmas. So I really haven't seen much from Carson Willis, so I can't form a big opinion on like what his skill set is, what he's going to be capable of. But if you look at Arkansas's roster, of course, Ryder Helfrich is going to be the starting catcher. I think we can go ahead and pencil that one in. Like, we're safe to assume that. That backup spot is very much up for grabs. I also don't think Arkansas is going to be a super attractive portal spot for a catcher because everyone knows who Ryder Helfrich is. Everyone knows he's going to be the starter. So I don't know if you're going to be able to go out there and get, maybe you can find a backup that's played some games. I would love for that to happen. I don't know how easy that's going to be just to get a guy that has pretty much no hope of starting full time. You do need multiple catchers to get you through a season. So Carson Willis, as it stands right now, could be that guy, and we'll see what kind of summer he has out in the Rocky Mountain League. We'll see how he plays and if he's able to carry it into the fall. But I think he's one to keep an eye on for that reason, because we're going to kind of find out, does Arkansas need to go out there and get another catcher? Remains to be seen. I want to talk about these remaining couple leagues, but before we do that, I want to talk to you about a couple more of our sponsors, starting with Looper Auction and Realty. Why wait months or even years to sell your home the traditional way? At Looper Auction and Realty, they offer a faster, smarter option. Sell your home at auction. No repairs, no contingencies, no drawn-out negotiations. You set the terms, buyers compete, and you walk away with a firm closing date. Call Looper Auction and Realty at 479-996-4848 or visit looperauction.com. Looper Auction and Realty, sold in 30, closed in 30. Today's show is also brought to you by Radiant Elements Medical Spa. There's no doubt that tough workouts deserve a tough recovery at Radiant Elements Medical Spa. Their deep tissue sports massage and infrared sauna help you bounce back faster, hit the weights harder, and stay in the game. You can check them out in the Weddington Plaza right next to the Lions Main, or book an appointment online with the QR code at the top right corner of your screen to get 15% off your first service. It's Radiant Elements Medical Spa. Self-care for everyone. So taking a look at these last couple ones, and again, these are where, I hate to say it, these are where the cool kids play. If you are, like a big-time player coming off of a very notable season for your college team, there's a good chance you're playing either, especially if you're at a program like Arkansas, there's a good chance you're maybe getting that invite to the collegiate national team, or you're draft eligible, which is the case for a lot of Razorbacks. Obviously, Viva Loy, he's not playing anywhere this summer. Like, you're either draft eligible, playing with the collegiate national team. A lot of guys now, especially pitchers, don't play anywhere. Like if you threw 100 innings, you're a sophomore that threw a ton of innings, you're probably not going to go play anywhere. Like, we don't need you to go out there and throw. A lot of guys do stay back and stay at their college. And if they don't, they go to the Cape Cod League for the most part. Now, there's some guys who a lot of these assignments get done in the fall, and some of them even in the summer before the school season even starts. So sometimes you have an assignment where it's like, hey, we'll just stick with it. Go pitch in California, whatever. But a lot of the like most notable players go play in the Cape Cod League. And so it's always kind of the one that I'd say the most scouts are at. And it's the one where, again, it's where the cool kids play. And for Arkansas, again, you've got Kahil Aloy, Hunter Dietz, Colin Fisher, and Tate McGuire. So it's kind of fascinating. All four of these guys have very different journeys here. I'll start with Tate McGuire because last year he pitched in the Cape Cod League and got some valuable experience. If you remember, Tate McGuire threw an inning and 2/3 his freshman year at Arkansas last year in 2024. Throws a couple innings early in the year, low leverage, not a huge, situation for him. And he threw okay. He showed some good stuff, but just kind of wasn't ready to be in that top 6 or 7 mix. Winds up not throwing the rest of the year, goes out to the Cape Cod League and throws 26 innings. And he put up a 3.81 ERA, put up pretty solid numbers, above average strikeout rate, was starting games also. So he was throwing 3, 4, 5 innings, got some just very valuable experience. 26 innings, that may not sound like a lot to you. It's a lot, man. Like, a lot of these guys, like if you're a freshman, if you're starting your freshman year at the collegiate level, between the time you arrive on campus in August, September, to the time that you actually start your season in February, you would be lucky to get 10 innings of work leading up to that. Like in the fall scrimmages, usually they start off, everyone's throwing 1 inning. Then maybe by the end of fall, you're getting your starters throwing 2 or 3, but really a lot of them are throwing 1 or 2. So, in your fall, it's very possible if all goes well, you throw 4 innings in the fall. And then you come back before the spring and you have 3 weeks leading up to the season. Maybe you throw 4 or 5 more there. So you'd be lucky to get 10 or more innings leading up to the season. And that was the case for Tate McGuire and, every other pitcher on the Razorback roster. And then he doesn't even throw 2 innings during the season. So 26, again, I bring back that number. It's a big deal for him to go out there and, face legitimate competition. Scouts are watching him too. I mean, people are perfect games tweeting out stuff. I thought that was a big deal for him. And you saw him. He was a lot better as a sophomore at Arkansas. His numbers were a little bit worse. I mean, he had a 4.55 ERA in 27 2/3 innings. Strikeout rate was a little bit lower, and I think that was maybe the thing that surprised me. I don't know if he ran out of steam at some point during the year, but that velo went from 94 to 96 to maybe 91, 93. So who knows? I think that, there's some things he got, again, some more valuable experience here in his sophomore year at Arkansas. Was a midweek starter at multiple points in the year. I guess he finished the year kind of as their midweek starter. I thought he got some valuable experience, but it's now time to kind of take that next step. And so now he's back in the Cape Cod League. Now he's kind of already got that confidence, already got that experience. I'll be interested to see what kind of strides he makes in his game, what kind of stuff he's working on, if he's going to be starting, closing, what's his role going to be for his team. But definitely interested to see what Tate McGuire can do. And can he kind of change the way we view him? Not that we view him poorly, but just I don't know if I'm considering him in that like weekend rotation mix or in that like back end of the bullpen mix necessarily. I think he's a valuable arm, throws strikes, has some pretty good stuff, and he's projectable, big body kid. Can he really take that next step and maybe show us something this summer that's like, whoa, maybe we're sleeping on this kid. Maybe there's something there for real. And I think the same could be said for Colin Fisher, who is, again, same class as Tate McGuire. Both have been at Arkansas for 2 years. I don't know if I can ever remember someone being pretty much the exact same player year 1, year 2 in college, more so than Colin Fisher. And I don't say that as a knock either. It's just like, I mean, if you just look at what he was on the mound, what the numbers, we'll even talk about the numbers here for a second. I mean, just stuff-wise, I mean, he was 92, 91, 92, would mix speeds, would throw strikes. Now, if you look at his ERA, you may say, oh, actually, there's a pretty big difference, Andrew. As a freshman, he had a 2.67 ERA, and then as a sophomore, he had a 4.62 ERA. Those two numbers are different. 27 innings, 25 innings. That's pretty much the same number, right? He allowed 32 base runners as a freshman, 32 base runners as a sophomore. Only difference is, as a sophomore, 13 of those base runners scored. Only 9 scored his freshman year, 8 of which were earned runs. So there's like a little bit of worse luck. His strikeout rate was actually a little bit up as a sophomore. His walk rate was also just a little bit up. His hits allowed rate was a little bit lower. Like the numbers, if you just look them up, if you just wipe away ERA and you just look at every other number for Colin Fisher, including fastball velocity, including just the role he pitched from the team, pretty much the exact same thing. Now, it is worth noting that Colin Fisher got injured as a freshman, missed all of this offseason, was not able to go out and pitch with his buddy Tate McGuire in the Cape Cod League, was not able to go out to California and get those reps. He was rehabbing, working back from injury, didn't throw in the fall either. Did not throw against hitters until January when Arkansas returned from Christmas break. So maybe there was a lot of that where he was just kind of trying to fight to get back on the mound. You're rehabbing. Like, that's not a fun rehab at all. And I actually commend him for how, again, he got to that exact level. And I think, credit to him for attacking that rehab and being ready to start the year with no real controversy. But now this offseason, I think it's time for Colin Fisher to maybe take that next step. And I think him being healthy this summer is going to be a big deal. Of course, he's also older, more mature, had some experience. Maybe he's a little bit stronger. So maybe that adds a mile or two to his fastball or whatever. But I just want to see the overall confidence, effectiveness, ability to operate on the mound, because it's a guy that's already been a strike thrower his entire career. The moment he got on campus, he was able to fill up the zone, throw different pitches, throw strikes. Like, that's the stuff that you're usually trying to tell everyone how to do. He already knows how to do all that stuff. He knows how to hold runners on. Like, he knows what pitching entails. Now I just want to see that stuff maybe take the next step and see his confidence and his belief in himself also take that next step as well. I think this summer is a prime opportunity for him to do that. And I look forward to seeing him attack that as well. And Hunter Dietz, kind of fits that same criteria of looks the exact same in his freshman and sophomore year. And for him, it's a little bit different circumstances. He was injured and we barely got to see him both years. That was the consistency. So obviously the challenge for Hunter Dietz is just go out there and get reps. And this is a guy that we've talked about him 1,000 times. We've talked more about Hunter Dietz than any pitcher who has like fewer than 3 innings to his name in the history of Arkansas baseball. The close second might be Jake Faraday, but like we talk a lot about Hunter Dietz for a guy that has not really had that opportunity to get out there and throw. I mean, the first batter he faces in his collegiate career is Tommy White. That is obviously not ideal circumstances for throwing a guy out there, getting his feet wet, getting some of that experience, although you do have to kind of grow up pretty quickly. And that experience actually went pretty well for Hunter Dietz. He just hasn't had those, the opportunity, hasn't been healthy, hasn't been able to get out there and get those reps. I think this summer is going to be huge for him to do it. There will be scouts there. There will be people watching, people are going to know what happened in these games, but for not having, a bunch of cameras in your face, not having a bunch of media members like me asking you questions, not having a bunch of fans tweeting at you, telling you suck, him to just go out there, spend the summer in a beautiful part of the country, just try and get better, man. Just go out there and get some reps. I think it's going to be huge for Hunter Dietz. We'll see what it looks like. I don't know, health-wise, I believe he's fine. I believe he's all ready to roll. So I think he should be able to hit the ground running and just, again, even let's say he throws 12 innings this summer. That would be unreal. You know what I mean? That would literally be, 6 or 7 times more than what he's done in his Razorback career so far. It's like, that would be massive. Interested to see what he does. And for Kahio Aloy, I assume he's going to hit some home runs, give us some highlights to tweet out. That's what we're counting on. If you remember Kahio's brother, Vahiva, ever heard of him? He went to the Cape last year, and that's where he completely reconstructed his stance and his swing and everything. Looked a lot more comfortable during his junior year. That started in the Cape, and Vahiva had he hit over 300 in the Cape, hit, I think, 9 or 10 home runs, and he didn't play a ton up there. He only played 20-something games, hit 9 home runs. We saw the evolution of Vahiva Aloy happen in the Cape, and then he just took it to Arkansas. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that with Kahio. Not saying he needs to completely revamp his swing or anything, but I would love to see him show some of that growth and maturity and, maybe striking out a little bit less, doing all the things that he knows he needs to do that we want to see him do. I'm excited for him to just get those experiences and want to see him play some right field. I imagine he's going to get that opportunity. Kendall Diggs is a guy who, if you remember, when Kendall Diggs was a sophomore, was a DH every day. Then they had some injuries in the outfield, had to start him in left. It didn't go very well. Then they started him in right, didn't go very well. And then he kind of, by the end of the year, got the hang of it a little bit. Kendall got to go out there and play in the Cape Cod League, play right field every day, and he came back a much better fielder. So again, these reps and these experiences and these learning opportunities, they can happen for whether you're a position player who's a no-doubt starter, whether you're a pitcher that's got 100 innings to your name, a pitcher that's got 2 innings to your name, position player that hasn't played. It doesn't matter. You need to go out there and play ball. And I'm excited for Kahio to get that opportunity. I'm assuming he's not going to play 50 games in the Cape, but should be fun to see him get some opportunities there as well. And I mentioned how the Cape is kind of where the cool kids play. That's definitely true for the USA Collegiate National Team. And again, if you don't believe me, just listen to the 4 names. Gabe Gackle, Cole Gibbler, Ryder Helfrich, Cam Kojal. Are those not pretty much the 4 coolest players on the team? Barring maybe Kahio Aloy. I'm surprised he didn't get an invite. What the hell? Who did his get lost in the mail? What happened? We couldn't get Kahio Aloy a spot on the Collegiate National Team. What the hell? Whatever. But seriously, Gabe Gackle was there last year. Always a valuable experience. If you think about some of the coolest Razorbacks over the last 7 or 8 years, I remember Heston Kerstad going there. I remember Dominic Fletcher going there. I remember Hagen Smith going to play for Team USA. A lot of the most notable Razorbacks have also had a stint with the USA Collegiate National Team. I don't remember a year where Arkansas ever sent 4. Now there's a lot of programs actually, they pulled from 2 or 3 from a lot of different schools. I think Louisville sent 3 guys. I think UCLA sent 3 guys. They've got that big time shortstop. I think there was another school that sent 2 or 3, but I don't know if I've ever remember Arkansas sending 4. And of course, not all 4 of these guys are going to necessarily end up on the team. I can't remember what the number is, but they cut the roster from I think they invite 50 or 60, and then they cut it down to 25, 30, something like that. So there's a good chance that only 2 or 3 of these guys actually wound up playing on the team. But I can maybe remember Arkansas sending 2 guys once or twice. I don't know if they've ever sent 4 like this. And so we'll see who all is able to make the team. But again, it's the best of the best competition. You get to represent your country. They always have big time coaching staffs there. God, I forgot the coach this year, but like Dave Van Horn has been the coach for the collegiate national team before. Jay Johnson's been the coach for the collegiate national team before. Like all of the top dogs usually, like it's a very good environment there with, again, a lot of scouts there, a lot of MLB teams there to watch those games and watch those practices, the best players in the country, the best coaches in the country. It's a really cool thing. And I think it's also cool. It's important for all of these, again, very cool players and cool people and cool programs to see Arkansas and see Arkansas in that light and kind of make sure that we are known there, that people know, hey, if y'all are having an event with the best players in college baseball, we're going to be here and we're going to have 4 dudes here. And, you're going to have to play against us. Like, I like that. I also think it's cool from a leadership standpoint for these 4 guys that I just listed, who, if you look at Arkansas's roster next year, these are the guys that are going to be giving the speeches in the locker room. I remember asking Ryder Helfrich his freshman year, who do you think is going to be the leader of your class? And he said Gabe Gackle. I asked Gabe Gackle the other day, who do you think is kind of, leadership like you? And he's like, Ryder Helfrich. Those guys know each other. They're going to be leaders next year, no doubt about it. Cam Kojal, is there anybody who's more of a heartbeat leader personality for this team? It's important for him to be there as well. And Cole Gibbler, who's kind of was a young pup when he first got to campus, got some cool experience, got to grow up a little bit in real time. Now he's able to really accelerate that process of becoming a real dude for this team. I think Cole Gibbler's got a chance to be a weekend starter for Arkansas. And so if he's going to go out there and be a Saturday, Sunday starter, I think it's important for him to kind of fit in this environment, let everyone there know how good he is, that he belongs, and for him to kind of show himself that he also belongs as well. I think it's awesome, man. It's going to be cool to see all these guys get that opportunity. And so that's the full list of everybody and where everybody's going. And it may kind of look like a light list, but I was thinking about it, there's really not that many players outside of draft eligible ones, like the ones we expect, and even ones that we maybe don't expect to get drafted, like Reese Robinette's not playing anywhere this summer. Ben Bibby's not playing anywhere this summer. Parker Coyle's not playing anywhere this summer. Outside of that, there's really nobody that's not accounted for. I mean, Nolan Souza, unfortunately injured. Carson Wiggins, unfortunately injured. Cooper Dossett, unfortunately injured. Outside of that, all these guys are these are pretty much all the returners that we have right now. And so, and of course, you've got your incoming freshmen, some of which are playing places. I know Sherman Johnson, the Arkansas's transfer from McLennan, he's playing in the Coastal Plains League. I believe I was talking about Carson Brumbaugh. I believe he's playing somewhere. I couldn't remember the name of the league, like the Plainsmen League or something like that. I don't know. So I know there's a couple other guys that are incoming players that are playing somewhere else, but in terms of returners, like this is it. And so, we'll keep track of all their progress this summer and talk about that and who's standing out, who has cool highlights and all that stuff. It's always fun to watch. And we'll keep you updated here on the Baumbastic Podcast. I'm letting you guys leave in just a couple minutes. I mean, I guess you could leave whenever. But real quick, I'm just going to sprint through this MILB Pro Hog update. And I say MILB because there's really not much going on at the major league level other than James McCann. Shout out to James McCann, former Razorback catcher, agreed to a major league deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had been kind of cooking in the minors for a while this year. He's obviously been in the big leagues for a while. I believe it was last year, James McCann crossed 10 years of service time in the major leagues, which is a big deal. Do y'all remember when Dave Van Horn declared Ryder Helfrich the next James McCann, but with a better bat? I do. I remember that. Well, the first James McCann is back in the big leagues, so good for him. Hope he has a nice little run at the Arizona Diamondbacks. The fact that he's already played 10 years in the big leagues, everything after this is all gravy, and so good to see him get one more chance. Hogs are good for that. Dallas Keuchel did that for a while. We're like, he kept coming back, until they finally were like, all right, your career's over, buddy. Like, I love to see those guys keep fighting back to get to the big leagues. A few other guys that are fighting to get to the big leagues. Jackson Wiggins, the older brother of Carson Wiggins, just continues to light it the hell up. He got called up. He started his season in high A, immediately gets called up after a few starts. He's been in double A, and he's throwing the ball really well. He's made 7 starts at the double A level, 34 innings, 43 strikeouts, 14 walks, ERA under 3. I should have written it down. Why did I not write down his ERA? I wrote down all this other stuff. Did not write down his ERA. Has a whip of exactly 1.00. So his walk rate's cut down a little bit. He's not getting hit around at all. He's really showing up and taking nice strides in his career. I mean, this is his first full pro season. Last year, he got some valuable experience through about 58, 60 innings. He's already surpassed his career professional total in this season. So this is really his first time getting some of this big time experience, and he's kind of cruising his way up through the ranks, up through the system in AA and making it look easy. That's big time stuff. Jackson Wiggins, by the way, still only 23 years old. So like this is a guy that a year from now, he's in an organization that's doing pretty well. They're in like the playoff hunt and everything atop the NL standings. But like this time next year, you could very well see Jackson Wiggins knocking on the door of the big leagues. Also in the Cubs organization, Connor Nolan has a 3.98 ERA and 72 innings this year at the AAA level. He got caught up to AAA last year. Didn't go great for him right off the bat. He's come back this year, been a lot better. For him to put together a full season in AAA, I feel like is going to be pretty notable. He's not on the 40-man roster, and neither is Christian Franklin, who's his teammate in AAA, hitting about 250, doing pretty well for himself as a young outfielder. Neither of those guys are on the 40-man roster, so I don't expect their big league debuts to come this season. But when you're in AAA, you're right there. It's like you're one injury, one phone call, one car wreck away from being right there in the mix. And so good to see those guys knocking on that door. Another guy who's knocking on that door is Peyton Paulette at the ripe age of 24 years old. He got promoted to AAA a couple weeks ago, and it did not go well for him initially after getting called up to AAA. And he's in the White Sox organization, by the way. But he did the other day pick up his first save of AAA and got his ERA at the AAA level under 9. So that's good. And, of course, Peyton Paulette, young guy, talented. Good to see him progressing. Good to see him healthy, one, because I felt like it took him a while to really get that health in order. But now that he's healthy, he's starting to really put it together. Looks like a legitimate future big league closer, which is always cool to see. And a couple guys in that same organization with the White Sox, Hagen Smith and Michael Turner, both on the injured list at the AA level, which you don't love to see. I really don't love to see it with Hagen with an arm that talented and that valuable. I know White Sox fans are a little bit concerned about it as well. And it sucks for both those guys. Michael Turner was hitting over 300 in 21 games this year at the AA level. So he kind of felt like he was on a nice little track, little trajectory to maybe, forcing his way into that big league mix. So to see both those guys go on the IL sucks. Last one for you, Mason Molina, who was a Texas Tech transfer from Arkansas last year, left-handed pitcher. He got called up to high A in the Rangers organization a couple weeks ago, made his first start, 4 innings, did not allow a run. Shout out to you, Mason Molina, who some people have said I look like, whatever. But that's all I got for you on today's Baumbastic Podcast. Once again, went a little bit long, but appreciate you guys for sticking in there and hanging out with me. And hope you all have a great day. It's another beautiful summer, another beautiful edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. Have a great one. Woo pig.